So some of you may remember back in the darkest part of the lockdown, I gave a talk called "We Need to Talk About Mainframe Recruitment Urgently." And it was really kind of a call to arms about how the interesting times that we find ourselves in mean that we have some challenges and also some opportunities about bringing people onto the platform. Now, as a result of that session, I got in touch with some people from Broadcom who told me about this really interesting program that they have that does exactly that. And on the back of this, I was introduced to Neil Cash, who is our speaker today, and this incredible program that they have that essentially helps you to grow your own new specialist. So having had a couple of chats with Neil, I said, look, we really have to have you at GSE this year at the in the skills and learning stream, because based on the experiences that you've had, I know what you have to say will be really valuable to the type of people that come in and listen to our talks. So he has very graciously and helpfully agreed. He has a very good alarm clock because it's early where he is. And I'm going to get out of his way and allow him to talk to you about how to grow a mainframer. So Neil, when you're ready, I will take off my camera and off you go, sir.
Thanks, Herb. Thanks for joining today. And this topic is so near and dear to my heart because I am one of those gray-bearded mainframers that wants to retire at some point. But I got this opportunity, so I'm kind of proud of being a facilitator of the change or the new kids, right? And help young people or even mid-career people see that the mainframe is a very promising environment, promising professionally, promising growth-wise, and promising from a challenge stage. You go every day to this job. I held this job for many years. I've been in the business since 1981, started mopping floors and hanging tapes. That's what you did back in the day with a tie on. And have progressed up in various positions of support and that sort of thing. And began my management career in the early 2000s at IBM and worked as what they call a DPE. It really stands for does practically everything for some large financial institutions here in America. And then I got a call from Broadcom and my current boss and said, Neil, I got this job for you. And it's called taking over this idea we have. And we've got a napkin and a piece of paper on here on what we want you to do. And we want you to come do it. And I was excited to do it. So I made a change in my career, in my later part of my career, to take a hold of this. I'm very happy. And it's all about taking hungry people, hungry for jobs, hungry for career, hungry for change, maybe reintroduction, and putting them in the workforce. And the way this can help you as a customer is you can do these, you can model yourself after this. You can use parts of what we have provided, or you can just, like I said, take a look at this and say, you know, in this situation, I need to do it a little different. But I hope to give you some tips today and some insight to help you make that happen for your company. So anyway, let me carry on to the next slide. We've got to talk about, actually, we've got to push a button. There we go. Interesting. Let's see if the next one came up. There we go. These skill gaps. This is why we're doing this, right? We all know this. Corporate data on mainframe, 70%. These are numbers that are a couple of years old, but they're not much different. Nobody's moving huge financial institutions, or very few people are, off of the mainframe. They've discovered that perhaps it's better to spend our money on the front end, the user end of our applications, versus arguing over whether it's got to be in one database or another, or one platform or another, or one, large box, big box. All of that is less meaningful, because that's money spent that really doesn't help you help your own customer. So you might want to work on that phone app into your accounting system, so people can look at their current investments, or whatever is needed for you. Or you may want to spend time making the way you shop much better, and spend less time fooling with the back end database, which I call the mainframe the Iron Fortress. So you guys realize this, and you've seen this go. I don't hear of many huge projects to spend literally millions and millions of dollars to we're going to get off the mainframe kind of stuff. More people are talking about hybrid IT environments, which include all platforms. And we used to have this back in the day. I don't know if you know it, but we called it Database of the Month. The company I was working at, they shall remain nameless. And whoever was the favored manager got their way on what database we were going to use and what we were going to spend our money in. And we ended up with 3 or 4 databases, which in some ways offered challenges between the database group. We were sharper, better, because we wanted to do that. But at the same time, it was an unnecessary software spend in a lot of ways, and software can be expensive. So anyway, we're looking to not, right now, we're not changing platforms necessarily as much as we want to engage and utilize the platforms and make them better. And the mainframe is that kind of gig. I'm going to give you mainframe talk because I'm a mainframe bigot. It's the only way I'm bigoted, but I'm bigoted pretty heavy there. Anyway, some of the things happening, mainframers under the age of 30, 12%. I know this. I came from a large environment that we hired many folks from other companies that we were outsourcing. That's what my business was before this. And all of them were just like me. They were old and gray, and you just did not see people under 30. So as a result of that, because we're old and gray and ready to retire, we're doing that. People are moving on. People are, changing their idea of what they want to do. And over the last 5 years, and you may, starting around 2018, I want you to realize this data is a little bit is dated, but it's certified. That's a good thing, and I documented it there. But we lost 23% of our workforce. And the kicker, the part that we're going to address today, or at least talk about addressing today, is 63% of those positions were unfilled. And so what does that do? That puts a lot of extra work on the workforce that you do have. And I know that people are coming home tireder. I saw that in my prior job. They were more exhausted, and they seem like they work more hours at a time when they don't want to do that. And if you have somebody that's not, they want to spend more time with their grandkids and those sort of things. So once you get to that point, you're not as effective. You're not, you're still great at your job, but you're pulled in all kinds of directions. So what we want to do is realize that the productivity of our own individuals is going down. And because of their dedication, most mainframers, they'll work till forever, all night long, and then some. They're not the give up kind of people. They get it done. Hard is what they do. That's what I say. I've used that in the last 10 years. When somebody come to me and I said, what's the problem with this? And they'd say, well, it's this, it's that. And I said, so it's hard. And yeah, in a nutshell, it's really going to be hard to do this. And I go, yep, that's what we do. Buckle up. We're going to get this done. And that's most mainframers. That's not unusual in this field. So how do you find somebody that's like that? Well, we're going to discuss that. Whoops, forgot that last widening thing. We're going to discuss these things. So when you're thinking about your own workforce, this question out there that keep in mind as we're talking today, what barriers do you face creating a sustainable mainframe workforce? What barriers? Holy cow, you can probably list a ton of them. Getting a requisition these days, you got to dust off your process on doing that, because literally who gets requisitions to open anymore? That's probably your biggest barrier, is actually getting permission. And that's a what I would call a barrier. That's your first thing you've got to kind of overcome. Our program can help you overcome that, because we have a try it before you buy it kind of thing. Our program, by the way, is free, so I'm not selling anything. I'm trying to give something away here. But that's one of the barriers that you face. And then finding somebody, you may find people. You go out and you look at job sites, people want a job, but attracting them, that's tough nut to crack. You've got to show them what the mainframe can be. Herb and I were just discussing, he told me this secret weapon, which I've used it a bit, but it reminded me, and it's a great secret weapon. This conference, GSE, is a great secret weapon for attracting people, talking to them about this communities that we have, the conferences, the camaraderie. I'll get that out in a minute. Those types of things are meaningful. The younger generation today, think what you may, I really think they're going to be a great workers. You just got to kind of dig around and find those. But they want a little bit more than we wanted. We wanted a good job. We wanted maybe health benefits. We wanted, maybe vacation time and those sort of things. That's what I was thinking about when I got on at my first company. Those were the things I listed. It's a little different, I'm not going to say kids. I'm going to say kids, but I don't mean to, because I don't want, these people are smart. They learn well. They learn quick. But the folks today, they're really looking for, they want a company that has some deeper, idea or philosophy. They want somebody that says, we're going, just to throw something out there, we're going to save the whales. We're going to make sure that we're a low impact corporation, or we're going to be, if we're an oil corporation, that we're going to do the best we can outside of that to help animals that are in trouble of extinction, that sort of thing. They want a bigger piece. They want our companies to be a little bit broader on that. And I guarantee you, most companies out there have that little program that they're doing, but it's something you can leverage them and talk to them to get involved with. I mean, we used to do Walk America. That was for handicapped children, and we provided that resource. It gave them some altruistic type of thing to do. That's one thing to attract them. Another thing is when you are looking for these talents, you've got to kind of think outside. Our program in Vitality, I don't necessarily look for comp sci degrees. That's not, there wasn't even comp sci degrees around when I was in, and most of us old folks may not even have a degree at all, much less a comp sci degree. So think of it in terms of, know your HR, you probably have to check a box where you have university is completed. But at the same time, look for something outside of that. If they've had a little work experience, or that they actually had hobbies or whatever that required a certain amount of stick-to-itness. That's what I call it. For example, there was a guy that came to us, had a real good, and he was struggling. And I said, well, what jobs, I gave him one of those silly manager questions. Well, what jobs or anything that you've done in the past that might make me feel that you can stick to this, that you can adhere to this? And he struggled and struggled. And I noticed on his resume, one of his hobbies was play the guitar. So I brought it up and I said, oh, it says you play the guitar while he was struggling. He goes, yeah. And I said, how long have you been playing? He said, well, since I was blah, blah. And then I said, did you take lessons? Well, no, I kind of sat in my room and played on a guitar and kind of figured it out. And then I went and took lessons. And so that told me this guy had this ability to take something and stick to it and stay with it and do it on his own without provocation from somebody. So I think it's important that you look beyond the resume, or you ask the crazy questions that get them to thinking. I hired a gentleman that was a mid-career guy. He fixed what we call air conditioners, big, huge HVAC units, right? They're these complicated things, and that was his job. And he crawled under houses and on top of roofs and in back closets and all of those things to get to them and fix them and do whatever. But the key is he had to do his own problem determination. He had to drill down. He had to say, okay, it's not this, it's not that, it's not this. Well, that's the way the mainframe support business is, right? You get a problem. The worst thing you can get called, and I'm gonna pound on DB2 because I used to be a DB2er, is you get this call in the middle of the night and they say something's wrong with DB2. Well, there's your clue. That's all you know, and you've got to start. Same with a high HVAC situation. People call and say it won't turn on. It's not working. So you had to do problem determination. Turns out he made a great DB2 system programmer because he could dig. He had practice at digging. So that's about attracting. You're trying to make yourself attractive, and then you're trying to find the right type of talent. And then these folks, they need this grow. I want to talk about mentoring, continuing education. I like to call it enhancement. Those things don't have to necessarily, we used to have a deal way back where they said, okay, you need to read 2 books a year and all these requirements. And that's not necessarily the way this generation might grow, engage, and those sort of things. Plus, back then it was try to get us used to just the IT industry and platforms that were coming along. Gave us a great deal on no interest loans to buy a PC for $3,000. And it was a 286 gateway. I remember that. It's a very exciting time. But these folks, way ahead of us, they cut their teeth on cell phones. They know technology that's just been part of their DNA. It was not part of my DNA. But it is part of theirs. So technology does not necessarily intimidate them. And so you have to find ways for them to grow differently. There are many inner skills, those sort of things that your company can offer, or you can get offered through some of your vendors, IBM, Broadcom, do these situations where you can use their inner skill. That's one way of doing it. But I think grow to them may mean having conversations about what if. Right? What you bring them in. We know how to move data, man. The mainframe can move it. The mainframe can, but we need them to grow in a way that helps the mainframe become more, I guess, usable. And that's we know it is very usable, but you need to help them understand the new language interfaces that you can get, the new Zoe stuff, the new things that are happening in the mainframe space, and help them understand and let them show you. The command line interface is what Broadcom helped. Rocket and IBM, Broadcom kind of got Zoe together. And the part that Broadcom done was a command line interface. The part of that was done by our younger group of engineers and developers at Broadcom. It wasn't brought about by our older, trusted, awesome developers. It was cultivated by those people. And you can be the farmer, you can be the plant. These guys are plants, and you want to help them grow. So you have to allow that. You have to encourage that. You have to be excited when they come up with, I was doing this and that. And that's the part that you got to do with those folks. You got to mentor in that direction, not like it used to be, like you want it to be. We need to ask our youngsters, I call them youngsters, sorry, We need to ask those guys, what do you think it should be? How can you make it be better, more intuitive, less cumbersome, and give them free rein to do that in development, right? There are some processes in the mainframe. Why it's called the fortress is because you have this division of stuff, but there's a development environment or sandbox somewhere in everybody's shop, hopefully, and let them play. Give them the shovel, give them the bucket, and let them play in that sandbox. Retain. Okay, keeping them around, engaging them. All of the things I just said, engaging them, letting them grow. Those are the ways to retain them, and they're going to be expected to be paid, relatively well. But this generation, oddly enough, wants satisfaction out of their job. And part of that is letting them know, giving them some ammunition. It's tough. Let's face the fact, it's tough for a youngster to go back to all their buds. And she says to them, yep, I'm working in mainframe space. And they're like, what? Isn't that dead? Wasn't that going away? Nobody uses those anymore. I asked a barmaid, and I don't know if that's a proper term, but that's what she was. She was I asked her, did she know does she recognize the company IBM? She didn't know who it was. Now, granted, she may not have been the most educated person to ask that question, but at that level, I could have asked her, who's Google, who's Amazon, who's, those others. But when you get into that mainframe space, we just don't have the knowledge spread that we used to. So I think it's important for us to talk to our newcomers into the field and talk to them about what it is that the mainframe does and how it helps the society move along. That is a society presence. Also, job security and career paths. I tell my folks, not only am I old, but my boss is old, her boss is old, and his boss is old. And there is careers here at the mainframe space. We're all on the verge of wanting to get the heck out of Dodge, right? Many of us will work for on and on. I'm not one of those, and most folks aren't. They're just looking for somebody to hand that over. So let me pause there. That's a lot, but it's just my spill on how you can get those guys. So to briefly, whoa, we just jumped, but that's okay. Just to briefly talk about the Mainframe Vitality Program. The program that we have is free. It's a low cost. There, at the most, there's low cost. We are starting this in Europe. This in 2021, we're going to have a program, and what it entails, I'm going to run through it really quickly, but I want you to understand, as somebody that you're trying to grow your own mainframer, is you can participate in pieces of this training to get things free. And I'll explain this a little deeper, but to get things free, so to speak, you do have to take a product training. Okay, it's still free to do it, but it's required, because if you're going to take advantage of, let's say, ASE training, and I'll explain that in a minute, that's kind of our mainframe introduction training, then we want you to take product training. And that might be a little confusing, but let's go through it. What we do in this case is we get together and we talk to a customer, and we have a partnership. Our goal in that partnership is spelled out in an SOW that's $0, and it says what we want to do is support and grow a mainframer, and we're gonna grow them in a specific skill that in a Broadcom product, obviously, because that's what we're here. So that's kind of the gig. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to find a student or mid-career somebody. We're going to find somebody looking for a job, hungry for a job, and we're going to bring them in and train them on how to be a mainframer. That does not mean they have to have 3 years or 5 years experience. You're not going to find that unicorn. There's nobody out there with that, or there's very limited. We're trying to generate and create some of those folks, but right now it's pretty much you got to grow your own. We used to think, well, I can't find. I heard those excuses. I can't find. I can't find. Stop that. You're going to have to grow one like we did in the old days, right? Nobody had a CICS sysprog when I became one. They just picked me out of network and said, Neil, you're going to learn this. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to train somebody on the mainframe, and that ASE training is the first step in that. And it's an 7 to 8 week course that is literally soup to nuts on the mainframe. Now, granted, everybody's saying you can't learn the mainframe in 8 weeks. Well, there's two things in the advantage. Most of these guys, like I said, cut on technology. They know more about technology at 3 than I did at 17. I mean, I look at my own grandkids and I can tell you that. I mean, it's incredible. So it's not quite as hard for them to pick it up. However, no matter what you do in 8 weeks, they're still just trained. And you and I both know practical experience is what you need. We're going to get to that in a minute. So we'll train them for 7 to 8 weeks, and then we'll, before we take them into product training, or while we're taking them into product training, let's say you and I as a customer decided, you said, we need an IDMSer. It's killing us right now. We're not going to have anybody to replace Joe and Sheila and all those guys. We need somebody. So okay. So we'll take them through IDMS training, let's just say, and that's one of the products that is provided. And we'll take them through that, and we'll introduce them to a mentor on our side, meaning a engineer, developer, or support personnel on our side that can be their mentor for the product, of that product. And the customer themselves will get a product as well, or get a mentor as well. But right now we have one mentor through this product training. Is somebody going to help them with labs, make sure they get what's going on in the space. IDMS is complicated. 6-7 week course there. So it's not a light work, and I mean it's every day. There's, it's pretty intense. So what happens after that is we then put this individual, and this is about 6 months worth of, this is about 3 months worth of training. And then what we'll do after that is we'll put that individual at your shop. Now, that individual that we've talked to and we're paying a salary to, we're paying for all of this training. And if we do it on site, they're being paid to take a train or fly there. And we do this in Prague. But if not, virtually, we'll make sure that they're connected and on. And these are very intense courses, but we're still paying them to do it. It's not like they don't have it. They have a job, basically. They're contractors for Broadcom. And then at resident transition, this means that the customer has come to us and said, okay, we're ready to meet, or we want to see if our person has done well in this. And if they haven't met them, we would prefer that at this beginning where they shake hands, that's where we've talked. They've actually talked to the people themselves and said, yeah, I like Sheila. I think she'll be great. And then she'll go through the training. And then when we transition them, we'll put Sheila with that customer, meaning that we'll move her, set her up in a corporate apartment, and put her and pay her salary for 6 months. Once she arrives at 6 months. So what we're ending up doing there is allowing the customer to not have to open a rec or have an approved rec. But we do ask the customer to be prepared to do that. Because remember, this is a partnership between us two to grow somebody. So keep that in mind. And then they start their residency that lasts for 6 months, and you notice there's on-site mentoring. That's your gold, folks. We expect you to provide a mentor. I mean, nobody knows how to build a job card, right? You just go copy your friends and change the name, protect the innocent, and boom, you're off and running. So you're going to need a mentor to help with those types of issues, and a mentor to help get practical experience. That's what that 6 months residency, that's what we call it, is practical experience gaining, not at your cost, at our cost. And then at the end of that, we hope to have a educated, somewhat experienced mainframer that the customer is willing to hire. And they hire them and we're done. There's no fee, there's no hidden magic going on. That's just the way it works. Now, you say, well, Neil, we have a pretty good training program. Already it trains on mainframe, but we need somebody maybe in one of your products. You can send your individual to just the product specific training. They can attend, these last, depending on the product, anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, or 4 to 7 weeks, sorry. So you could send them to that and then they go back home to you. And it's pretty big commitment, I got to admit, to take a person and upskill them or train them on a product for 6 or 7 weeks. But these are instructor led. Don't read it, take a test. Oh, you passed. These are lab induced training. You have lab assistants that are our developers. They have professional instructors that have a very good knowledge of the product. And so we look for those people, and they're out there, they're wanting to make a little bit of extra money during their retirement, or maybe they've decided to split off and create this, and that's who we employ. And then we have our own Broadcom folks actually doing the labbing. This is their second job. Also, you may say, well, I really just need this mainframe training. We can offer just that mainframe training as well. It has, I'll have to check with our education department. When we use it, it's free to our customers. When you use it on your own, I don't think there's a cost to it at all. I really don't. But you can do that as well. So keep in mind, although we're running this program kind of soup to nuts, how to get a mainframer, there are pieces of this that may fit your own situation. And they're free. If you send somebody to product training, for example, and let's say COVID goes away and a miracle's happen and we don't have it anymore, and we send people to Prague, guess what? If you're just send somebody, we're going to pay for their hotel. We're going to pay for their train or airfare to get them there. Now you'll have to pay for their food, okay, while they're there, but we'll actually pay for as much as we can legally. We can't pay for baggage, at least in our experience. It's kind of weird. You have to pay that once you get to the airport, and maybe even the train station. So there's a few, that's why we say low cost. That's the low cost part. I want you to understand that there may be a little cost if it's you sending one of your people to skill them up, and it's an on-site course, not virtual. If it's virtual, there's no cost. So it's quite a lot to take in on this slide, but I want you to understand that although this is one journey, it can also be broken up and put in place maybe gaps that you have in your own upskilling of mainframers. We want to help the mainframe ecology. We partner with IBM, we partner with other vendors, and what we're really trying to do is bring the mainframe level up. We don't have the pipeline we used to have. Remember, I told you Neil was at mopped floors and hung tapes, right? Glamorous stuff back in 1981. And the pipeline for me to become a CIC Assist Prog, or first a network engineer is what they called me. I was basically just a phone answer for people that couldn't get connected. But I said, using VTAM commands to make sure their terminals worked. So it wasn't that great of a position, but I was starting to get it, right? I hung tapes. I knew that I was hanging tapes and it was running CICS, because if I didn't hang it fast enough, the CICS guy would come flying down there and be mad. So we kind of learned from the guts. That pipeline is kind of severed. Being an operator now and today is its own career. It's a very intense position, and the part that's left for you to do manually or think about is much harder. Nobody hangs a tape, right? That was easy. 3-finger salute. That's what we used to call it. Pop, bip, 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 right? And you're done. But nowadays, that's no more, but operators are making decisions that really manage the environment, or they watch for situations that can tell them a problem is about to occur. They have premonition on what is going on because they know what normal is, right? That's the best person is they know what normal is. That way they can recognize abnormal, and most of your operators do that. So you don't have that pipeline. And so I want you to understand that this can help you take somebody, or at least what we've done so far is we've taken people that are hungry for a position, that want a position, that have some aptitude as a mainframer, that have some of the attributes that we believe are important. They've been through stuff. I think people re-entering the workforce is incredible. My current group that just graduated from this training that are in the US, one was a French teacher, one was a 4th grade teacher. I knew right then if one taught high school French and the other one taught 4th graders, oh, they'd been through some stuff. They knew what trouble was, and they were hungry for something new and different, and they had some aptitude and in the the space. They had some experience. And I've taken Army veterans that were air traffic controllers. I've taken folks that were one of our, favorite folks is this was an interpreter in Afghanistan. He was from Afghanistan, and he was, what he did is he interpreted the website stuff into the Afghan language so that they could read it. And he had some university training, but nothing on the mainframes. Totally new. Had never seen a green screen. That gentleman's working for a large healthcare environment in Seattle and making, it hadn't been that long ago, and he's making very good money. And he's very happy, and he is very astute. And we just have several of those folks that have come in. And one was a professor in the Ukraine, and he won the U.S. lottery, as they call it, a lottery system, where he was able to immigrate to the United States. And he came with his family in 2 bags. And essentially, he went through this program, and he now works in a large corporation in the datacom space. So it's just that kind of those kind of folks is who you're looking for. People that are hungry, that want to do it. And then you want to build a training situation that grows them in their knowledge, gives them the ability to actually do the job. And then you want to give them a little bit more to hold on to them. But if you do that much for them and you're sincere, you will have a dedicated employee, because you brought them from maybe nowhere to somewhere really important in this mainframe space. These are some of the products. I'm not going to stay on the screen long. These are the products we offer right now that we're doing intensive training on. There's other training available on other products. Don't get me wrong. You can take online courses and those sort of things. I do not want to shortchange our education system. As a matter of fact, they're having a redoubling down on making sure our online education is tops on, and they're working on different products to do that. But consider these are real intensive, like I said, 4 to 7 week courses on managing and making these products work. Wanted to talk about Europe in 2021, what we're doing. It takes a while to grow somebody, but what we're doing is we're looking, this is our timeline for what we're offering. So if you're out there thinking, well, I could use an ACF2 person or Top Secret or Endeavor, one of these products that are in this, you can be thinking October the 18th. This is not 100% in concrete. We're trying to stay out of holiday. And the earliest we could start the training for everybody, it's a progression, is August 24th. We didn't, or 23rd, we didn't want to start it any earlier than that. We're trying hard to push it. But if you get too deep into November, next thing you know, you're in December. We know that that's not a good place to be either. So trying to balance that. But if you are interested in one of the people that we're going to hire, you want to be involved in hiring a person for this program, then you've got until about June to be doing that. So you can think this back. The other thing is, if you have an individual that you want to upskill and they're mainframers, but they need to learn Datacom or Ops MVS or something like that, then you've got until the latter part of September to get that scheduled up and ready to go. But we'd love to talk to you and help you understand what's going on, because we're going to start the classes for what we call product specific training. We're going to start those October 18th. A class has to have at least 3 participants. And what we'll do is try very hard to make that happen. I mean, we will, if we have interest, and we have somebody interested right now, we're trying hard to go ahead and get something shored up for them. They want to send 2 people to some database training, and we need 1 more. And if we don't find one, we're going to provide one ourselves, and we'll train somebody on it. We'll figure out a way to place them later. We really want to get our education out there, and we want to support this mainframe ecology. So, and Herb, did these folks, are they able to download they're able to download the slides, correct?
Yeah, they are. If you give me a link, I can provide them on the website, so we can put them up for you.
You bet. I'll do that. I uploaded them to the presentation thing. So let me see what I can do with getting you a link there.
Okay, they should be there already then. If you've uploaded them, they can follow the link on the agenda and should be able to download them.
Yeah. So feel free to do that. Think about, take it back to and talk about it. And if you have a specific program, a lot of customers have had developed their own training program, and you want to talk about that and partner, we're willing to do that. We want to help the space. Again, we work with IBM. IBM works with us. We're not here to sell you anything. We just want to create, we want to maintain this mainframe environment. The only way to do that is to get skilled resources out there, as y'all know. I'm not telling you anything new there. Anyway, so we have many, I'll say many, we have at least up to 8 great words to say, but Guardian Life, we kind of give them the hat tip, because they were the first to really go all in, and they were very, very, Guardian Life is an insurance company in New York, and they were very pleased. They sent one of their individuals through the entire program, and we paid for that individual's hotel. We paid for that individual's education, of course, their airfare from New York to, I think we did part of it in Pittsburgh, and then the other part was done in Plano, Texas. We paid for all, as much as we could. She had to pay luggage. That's where I learned you had to. I couldn't pay for luggage, and she had to pay for her meals, and that was it. And she was an intern with them that they had brought on, and this was their response to that. They really had a real good experience. And Macy's is talked about here on the first one. We sent an individual, they hired one of our individuals, Jason Cook. He happened to be, I'm going to tell you, he's a mid-career person. And they wanted somebody a little more mature. He was in his mid-30s. And he was the right guy for them, and they just loved him and felt that he was going to be their future. And so at 30 in his 30s, mid-30s, I nearly said his age, I happen to know it, but I don't need to do that. I was his boss at one time, in his 30s, and they're so happy with what he's doing for them. And they actually hired him. Here's a backstory on this. They hired him during the higher part of the pandemic in the early summer, in the summer months. So when they were laying off other people, they had to make some real tough decisions. They actually furloughed them. They brought most of them back, but Macy's, retail, that hurt. They were a huge retail firm, and they still got approval to get this guy hired because they needed somebody that could take the helm and be youthful and move on. The same is true for the state of New Jersey governor had to sign off on one of our hires. That's how because they hired them during the pandemic when everybody else saying that. But the key thing to know is that's how much corporations and companies know that these things are happening. They know they have to do something. There is not a choice. Most of you guys are maybe in that position. People are starting to mumble about retiring. I'm giving my boss a heads up that, I'm thinking maybe 3-4 years. And some of these mainframe jobs, these mainframe environments are difficult to learn. And they need somebody with a base, somebody with some knowledge, and then they need a whole lot of mentoring and bringing along. So these are some nice words, and we really appreciated it from these two. So I left this call to action. You don't have to do a call to action, but I left it here because it had some great stuff. If you wanted to learn more about our program specifically here, if you want to see, this is Nicole. She works for a large investment firm in Arizona right now. She was one of our first, came on real shy, went to a share in the United States, very similar to this, and something happened. She bloomed, and that was it. And now she's written blogs and done all kinds of stuff. So I recommend that if you can, copy this at some point, copy this. It's a YouTube video, or just look up Broadcom Vitality Program, and you'll hear from the students. It has execs on it. It doesn't have me on it. It has our execs saying stuff. Blow past that. Listen and look at those students and what they're going. It's just honest that. Reach out to me. We have an email that we monitor all the time called mainframe.vitality@Broadcom, blah, blah, blah. You can do that if you have a general question. But if you want to just say, hey, Neil, in your little speech or whatever, or in our discussions, we talked, send me an email, we'll do that. And then we have some frequently asked questions. I'm going to give you a little story here because I'm old and old people do this. I always call these FAQEs. Now, if you're a CICS system programmer, you know why. And I get corrected all the time. It's a FAQE is a control block that you chain in old CICS to find certain terminal attributes for why a printer may not be working. This was way back in the 80s. Okay, so but I call them FAQEs. If you hear me say that, I'm sorry. It's really frequently asked questions, FAQs. So please check that out if you want to. And that's it. Thank you for, and I just want to ask if there were any questions, anything, and I'll pause. Were there any questions on the chat? I'm sorry, I don't think I'm seeing that, Herb, if we did get any. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody.
Hi, Neil. Can you hear me?
Hey.
Hi there. Sorry, struggle to unmute myself. No, thank you so much. Excellent talk. We do have a few good questions in here. So we've got about 10 minutes, so I think we can kind of bounce those in. Now, I know some of these you spoke a little bit about at the beginning, but I'm going to kind of meld a few of them together. So we have one about how you attract the student base, so how you attract kind of new graduates, because a lot of what we're saying is kind of on the supply side. So this is like for people who are users, and it's like kind of, yeah, users, this is a thing we could do. How do they make that connection with the grads? There's a question about whether you think people need a degree or a computing degree. about whether, do you find people who have a computing degree are possibly already kind of, kind of they've already been taken down on a particular path. So how do you deal with that? And we have some interest in what might happen in terms of a career path, whether there's something that you might kind of share about what a career path for a mainframer looks like.
Okay, so let me, that's a three-part question. Yeah, I'll give it what we call the presidential response. Attracting, we'll kind of work our way in, and I'll probably miss something, but if I do, just call me out on it. Attracting and finding these folks. Where do these unicorns hang out, right? And it doesn't mean that university is a valid place to find these folks. What it is you might want to lean towards your university students that may have had to work, a job to be able to continue in it, or they're taking time off, or maybe it took them 8 years to go through university. Those kind of things should be a flag to say, okay, or 10 maybe. The guy I mentioned that repaired air conditioners, took him 10 years to get through the University of Georgia. And that reason is he was working part of the time, then going back to school and working. Those are sort of things that can help you find somebody. Also, if you're, what we've used in America, there is, or in the United States, there is many, we have a lot of veterans. So we look for veterans, places that, websites and those sort of things that can help you find veterans. There are many, and I should have brought that. And I can send, whoever asks, I'll be willing to send my list. And I'm sure they exist in EMEA, but there are many situations where they're job search engines that are different. They're not, for example, everybody, I don't know if you know, but in the US, everybody knows about Indeed, everybody knows about LinkedIn, everybody knows about, those are the standards. You kind of got to take some out of the standard. There are job sites in the world that are not the mainstream, that are people that are looking at people that are re-entering workforce. The places that you find those is you have to go to where they are. There may be somebody trying to re-enter the workforce from having children, or maybe an illness or something like that. You have to take a different path. And in EMEA, or in the European Union area, and EMEA and the UK, I'm not sure what those specifics were, but look for alternative ways to find somebody. I'll tell you what, here's a crazy story, and I'll try to make this quick because we got to roll. I was getting shirts at a shirt place, at a men's, and I was talking to a guy, and I mentioned that I was working for Broadcom, and we were doing this, and he goes, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, I used to work for IBM. I was a Series 1 guy. Y'all don't do that anymore, do you?" And I go, "Oh, yes, they do." Yeah, because I knew we actually were looking, not Series, was it? It was the I-Series, not Series 1. That really takes you back. Series 1 was a scanner. Anyway, but I-Series, and I said, "Yeah, it's still very much alive." And really? And I go, "Yeah." And he was, measuring me for shirt size. And you have to reach out to folks and find ways to connect with folks. You got to be where they are. I put as one example, you can go to the local, I don't know if they have gaming shops here. They do have them there where people play all these board games. Interesting place to advertise. Got to get creative. Now, the other thing, career path. I wanted to talk on that before we got out of here, because I know it's getting short. Career path, when you're talking to somebody, is their career path has to be challenging. So you're going to let's say you bring somebody in, you train them to be IDMSer or a datacom person, and that's what they are. And you really kind of want them to stay in that position for a while, and that's okay for a little while, but you're going to end up shooting your own foot. And they'll tell you whether or not their interest is starting to wane or they need something else. And there are going to be, I always think of career path is it's something that happens when the availability, the door opens, they've got to run through it. And that's when if they see you, you encourage these folks to not only do that, but also hone their management skills, hone their skills on work groups, hone their skills with, if you're an agile company, do those sort of things and grow into something different, and try to be aware that if you grow this person, the next, you can come back and the next person can take their spot and feel safe when they look up above them and they see somebody that's, you know, not 65, 70 years old. They see somebody up there that's, you know, in their 40s, that's been a technician, that's like they are. They see growth. Growth can also happen laterally, where you learn other products and other things, especially in our space today. There's not like just one person, that's all they do is datacom much anymore. You usually may do datacom, but you may back up the DB2 person or the CICS person, or you may know networking, or you may be the capacity planner de facto because you're underneath the database. So help them find those other interesting steps and allow them to help your environment. There are a lot of new and awesome things, and we as mainframers have a tendency to stay with what's working, and that's a great thought and it's a good idea, but we also have to grow and let them be the spearhead that brings in a new, maybe this Zoe interface that IBM Rocket and Broadcom are providing, or maybe some other interface or connection, how to use these things in a way that is exciting and different. And so you have to find ways to grow them as a career. And I think that's how you keep them in. Right? That's it. You pay them well. I mean, they're your future, right? They're going to hold the keys to the kingdom. Did I miss something on that, Herb?
No. I think you got everything. I think everybody definitely got both barrels there. They got what they came for.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for hanging in with me. I'm excited about the mainframe space, as you can tell, and I will talk until, as we say here, the cows come home. Thank you all.
Exactly I just want to say to people, do thank Neil by going to the feedback section on the website and dropping some comments. I will make all these slides available. And thank you so much, Neil, for sharing that with us. I've forgotten quite how much fun it is to talk to you, because it's been a little while since we had our first chat. But thank you so much.
You're totally welcome, and I hope all of you have a nice rest of your day.